Well, hello there. It is Julia here, and today we have the founders of Jireh Ministries, Mark and Dori Moebius. So it's so great to see you guys.
Hi, Julia. It's great to see you too.
Hey, good to be here.
Today, we're going to be talking about the launch of the Epic Empowerment School of Excellence. So it's a nonprofit charity. I'm sure many of you watching this already know. They serve the Franklin County, Warren and St. Charles counties as well, and the surrounding region. And we made it our mission to end the cycle of poverty, which is amazing. It really is. Our Safe Kids Crisis Intervention Program has helped over 200 young people experiencing homelessness and poverty. That's just huge. We've been able to deliver over 250,000 meals and provide over 2,200 hours of assistance for homeless teens, including counseling and mentorship. And we're just so blessed by the overwhelming success of the systems that we've implemented since starting in 2015. So as the regional manager of Care Portal, we've partnered with 12 churches in Franklin County to not only make life better for children in foster care, but to actually assist in family services and just keeping children from even entering the foster care system. So it's so exciting to be able to play a major part in entering into families' lives through Care Portal and delivering hope to them. Definitely. So Mark and Dori, you have successfully implemented the Safe Kids Rescue Program. You've helped provide host families for youth, and you've used Care Portal to assist families associated with foster care. And now a major next step, Epic Empowerment. So what's the catalyst for this school?
What we learned over the last several years and doing just that, the Safe Kids program, and then working with Care Portal, which is kind of a mirror image of the non-DFS being Safe Kids Rescue, and then Division of Family Services and working with foster care being Care Portal. They were kind of mirror images of each other. So it was really great to put those two things together. And what we did was a 3-year case study, basically, because what we began to see is a lot of money was being spent. And I mean, a lot of money has been being spent, but nobody's really getting off the gerbil wheel. And we're not seeing the kind of success that, I mean, I've been a business owner. I started, in radio, and then I got into running my own marketing, advertising. And, when running your own business every day, you have to track your successes. And if you're not seeing it, something's wrong. And somehow as a group, as a community, we've allowed ourselves to think that it's actually going on when it's not. And then somebody else will take care of it, or they're taking care of it, or I think something's out there to take care of it, until you really put it under the microscope. And then you realize, wait a minute, we've got a whole group of people, young people, who are really on their own, who are in generational poverty, which means that not just year after year, but decade after decade, they're experiencing generational poverty, which is a part of a mindset. And it's also partially due to the economic situation. The economic situation can change drastically. So that's why we see people win the lottery and they end up buying a house and some jet skis and 4-wheelers and a new boat and all this stuff. And then you find out 2 years later, they're greater in debt than they've ever been. And some of them actually commit suicide because they're not prepared for how to deal with the financial blessing that they've incurred. I don't know if that's true through the lottery, but it's a windfall, if nothing less. And so we were seeing, like, yes, we could take them to a certain point, but then they keep sliding back down the hill. Why is that happening? So as problem solvers, I mean, Dori and I just want to see it make a difference. And people ask us all the time, how do you make a difference? Because you have to have kind of a dual mindset. One is the starfish on the beach scenario, right? Well, I tossed that one back in the ocean. I've made a difference in that person's life. One interaction with a young person, is one of those things that they were thinking about going left and now they're going right, and we're never there for the next 10 steps, but we've actually impacted their life. That's a success. But on a global scale, on a much larger scale, we have to decide what we're going to do about the problems that we're now seeing that we've started, to connect with. Do you have a personal story about one of our kids that you'd like to share that might come to mind?
Well, yes. I mean, I don't want to use names.
Yeah, I don't use names. But...
a young girl who came to stay in the respite care home. And we got her into a host family, and she ended up going to nursing school. The host mom that she was staying with was a nurse, and she encouraged her to do that. And she ended up getting a job and saving money and buying her first car. And someone that we worked with in the program was able to rent her her own apartment, I think for the first time.
Yeah.
And so just learning, I mean, it was the first time she learned how to support herself and manage payments and bills. And
Yeah.
so
And you have to contrast that with the fact that our kids, growing up, hopefully we've taught them enough where we can help them buy a car, we can help them get a first apartment, we can help them decide about school. Some of these young people have nobody. And then sometimes they have somebody, but they're in the same boat as they are. They lack soft skills, which we can talk more about later. But the lack of those soft skills becomes evident when they start to approach the opportunities that are being presented to them. Like I said, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, just in Franklin County alone, millions is being spent on young people. And we're not seeing the kind of progress that I'm comfortable with being a taxpayer and seeing that kind of money go out the window.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Wow. So the college age students who come to you that have been living in poverty, are they searching for a way to find success? Are they where are they really struggling at the most?
And that's an interesting point that you make, because you don't know what you don't know. If everybody around you is living the same truth and or lie, right, that you'll never be anything, we'll always be on welfare. Here's how you get food stamps. Here's how you stay on them. This is it for us. This is just the way we are. This is our life. And generationally, that because grandma was the same way, right? I mean, how do you contrast that with the real world, which is out there, which is we live in America, the greatest place in the world to live in. Your opportunity is only limited by the people that you know. So, getting out there and meeting people. So then all of a sudden you're seeing these barriers that are coming up. And you mentioned our college age students. So the Epic Empowerment School of Excellence is 19 to 24 years old. And what Dori mentioned earlier about our young person there who graduated high school, that was our goal of the Safe Kids Rescue Program, get them off the streets, get them out of a unsecure, unsafe place to a safe place with our host families, then get them through high school. That was our main goal and our focus on that. Then all of a sudden, they started going to college, and we weren't prepared as an organization for that. It was a great, great blessing. But we were like, wait, these kids are growing up. They're going to move into the next phase of life. Again, we stood at the edge of the cliff and said, what's out there? And there's nothing out there. We heard the sound of the wind, and so I know there's a lot of other great organizations. I don't want to make it like we're the only ones doing it. I just have to point out the fact that we've uncovered something that I don't think is being addressed. And we've uncovered something through this 3-year case study that is a little disturbing, but at the same time can be fixed. And we have now a 2-year program through Connections to Success in St. Charles that can help change dramatically the path that these young people are on. So whether they're looking for something, it may be the American dream, it may be what they're being sold on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, that might be what they're looking for, but what they're looking for is peace and security and family, and maybe things they don't know exist out there for them. They don't believe it yet, that dream is actually attainable, and it is attainable.
Definitely. So do the students have to pay for tuition?
No tuition ever has to be paid for by a student. So that's, we're very similar. A lot of people know College of the Ozarks for their model in doing that. So students can go there, they can get an education. Now, that's a lot more academic, okay? And we're all for academics. In fact, Tim Willard, who's on our board and has been a great asset to our team, actually runs Central Methodist University out of East Central Community College. So we're all about academics. And the same with the young person that Dori mentioned earlier. The issue we're finding is that they can be presented with that opportunity. I can get any student or young person that's been deemed homeless, which is a very low bar. It's easy to pass. I mean, it's just an unstable home situation. I can get them college money all day long, but they'll go for a semester. and ultimately they'll fail.
Yeah.
And if they get free money, they don't necessarily spend that money on what they're supposed to. So they'll go buy a car, or, life's been tough, so let's just use it like lottery winnings and splurge it. And then, of course, you got all these people that who are suffering as well. What do? You spend that money on them. Now they're left with debt. They get into this college situation they're not prepared for, and they fail. And they climb up the hill and they slide back down. Now that's with us involved up there. We got them through high school. We got them to that point, and we're actually doing something. We're seeing them climb the ladder, and we were feeling great about that. And all of a sudden, one by one, they started to slide back down. And in our viewpoint is Jireh Ministries has been around since 2015. Is like, well, wait, they should be going forward, not coming back. Mm-hmm. And we realized that the soft skills gap is something that's really important that has to be filled first. So the 2-year program that we're going to execute through Epic Empowerment will teach them those soft skills. We'll fill in those gaps. We'll get them prepared. We'll give them the essential 4, which is really, really important. We found out to really getting that foundation laid to move to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. And so is Epic Empowerment like a junior college, or what would you say there?
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of that gap between high school and junior college for those that need it. And the reason being is getting prepared to that point is what that is needed. And it's an effective change of mindset. Yeah. Again, we're giving them a foundation, providing housing, food, employment, and education all in one thing for 2 years. Wow. And within that 2 years, when they come out on the other side, they're probably more qualified than most people, unfortunately, that may be coming out of a college these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. That's amazing. So we've lined up some frequently asked questions about the Epic Empowerment School. So let's just jump right in. How did you guys come up with this program?
So I mentioned Connections to Success before. Mm-hmm. Immensely successful program. They're out of St. Charles. We connected with them about 3 years ago. And in my mind, I was like, wow, this is the first program I ran into was their personal productivity and development program. And they're actually working it through high schools and also in prisons to get prisoners to reform. They have a 75% success rate. It's amazing. Granted, most young people we know today are probably more in the 30 to 40 range in terms of success. And then when you add in poverty and lack of, a lot of good people around you, you're probably down to about 5 to 10%. So to transfer that over to 75% is huge. And they've got the return on investment on their website. So we're super excited. So we didn't invent the program, but we're really happy to implement it.
That's so great. So what barriers do you believe that young people are able to overcome by joining the Epic Empowerment 2-year program?
What have you seen in terms of
I would say
barriers?
Low self-esteem, lack of support, probably the 2 biggest ones. Just building confidence in themselves, that because that comes from a support network to help you to believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there by yourself, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those things come from this generational poverty, the cycle that has to be broken. Mm-hmm. Because if the truth that you live every single day is actually not the truth, but everybody around you supports it, how are you ever going to determine that that's, there's another way to go?
Well, and just being around a bunch of people with a like mindset that you can achieve, that you can succeed, as opposed to what you just said, being surrounded by people who they don't know any different.
Yeah. So the turning point for us was that we were contracted by counties to provide mental health services. And we had lots of different great programs, equine therapy, which I was super excited about, and mobile counseling and counseling in the schools. And we were going to meet students wherever they were and offer all kinds of counseling. But you know what? Teenagers don't want to talk to anybody, not people like us, about their problems. right? Or anybody, but and if it is somebody, it's a super small group of somebody's. I mean, we had a captain of the cheerleading squad and the captain of the football team in one high school who are both homeless. How do you keep that a secret in your circles in this day and age from getting out, and then you have to dress. That's why when I talk about our kids, if we want to call them that, I'm like, they're not standing by the side of the road with a hoodie on and a cardboard sign and a dog. They're dressed like we are because they don't want anybody to know. They want to stay invisible, right? They don't want to be visible. Again, captain of the cheerleading squad, captain of the football team, they're excelling in things that kids excel. They're getting good grades. Their grade point averages are not down in the dumps. They're up high. And so through offering all that counseling, it was just a happenstance that we happened to end up getting like 5 semi-truckloads of food one day donated to our ministry. And we didn't know what to do with 5 semi-truckloads of food, but we had it and we were going to help people. And so we started bringing in our young people to come. Look, we got to sort this food out. We got a warehouse full of food, and mentorship was the turning point. Mentorship, which is also part of the Connection Success program. So mentorship and a life coach, they get 2 things. It might be the same person, might not be. We got a lot of great people in West County and St. Louis and all over St. Louis region who are successful business people that are just dying to be mentors to a young person who just needs a fighting chance. They just need that little bit of something. And when they do slide back down the hill, go, don't worry about it. In your world, this is a big thing. In my world, it's nothing. You can overcome this. Let me introduce you to another person that you need to know. Hey, you seem to be pretty, talented at doing this. Let me introduce you to someone that I know. So it was mentorship over counseling. Again, we're not against counseling. We're not against, that whole thing. But where we've seen success was mentorship. And when I say success, I'm talking about a young person that came to our youth center for 2 years and didn't talk, and standing next to him, sorting, candy bars out of a box and cans of tuna out of a box, the kid started to light up. And then he shared his whole life story with me.
Because he felt needed.
He
felt useful.
Yeah. And successful. It seems like a small thing, but they were running around and using the pallet jack, which is a difficult piece of machinery. It'll fight you. Let's just put it that way. It can embarrass you if you don't know what you're doing. But they would rush to get this pallet jack because they all knew how to run it. And then I'll share a story with you. I'll try to get through it without crying.
You already started.
But through that experience, one of our young people, after working all day, we'd unloaded these trucks for 5 hours, 6 hours. It was all day in the hot sun, 104. And, we're driving him back, and he said, hey, can I come back tomorrow? And I'm thinking, why would you want to come back tomorrow? I'm exhausted. You guys were working.
This enough torture?
Yeah, right. And he wasn't expecting any money, although we paid him, but he wasn't expecting it. And I said, why in the world would you want to come back? I'm not against it, but, I just need to know. And he's like, everybody treated each other with respect. And he says, I know a couple of those guys, and they're millionaires. They were helping us out with the machinery, and we did have a couple of really great local businessmen jump in and help us. And so he knew him from reputation and through living in the community. And he says, those people talked to me exactly like I was one of them.
Oh, now you can make me cry.
Well,
yeah,
don't start. And then he said, and they showed me how to do this job, and now I feel good about it. So I want to come back. This is a person who had a meth addiction, right? Has fathered several children, gets in continual trouble, where I always tell people, look, our kids are not troubled youth. They may have some trauma, but they're just good kids in a bad situation. And I said, why is that so important to you? And he says, well, I work with my dad, and usually by the end of the day, we do landscaping. He's drunk, and we could be at a job site or wherever, and he wants to start throwing his fists at me. So that's the difference between what he experienced there and mentorship, and people who just saw him as a young person and was impressed by his work ethic, mind you.
Yeah.
The other kid had cerebral palsy, and his hand didn't work. He had one good hand and one hand that he was challenged by, and he was throwing these big chains around pallets of food and dragging them off there.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Wow.
So those kids deserve a chance. I don't know about everybody, I don't know about the whole world and kids who come, but I can tell you this, they're invisible. We're not seeing them. And they drift off then into places that cause other issues. And then we point at the issues and say, well, see, it's just the way they are. And I'm telling you, we've got a responsibility here. It's not just the way they are. These are young people. They're moldable. You can encourage them into the right direction, and they want it. They're drawn to it.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, there's got to be a lot of people who want to get involved with what you guys are doing and care about the youth and the children in our cities. So how do they go about doing that? How do they get involved with what you guys are doing?
So right now we've had a tremendous blessing through a new place. We needed a hub. So several years back, 5 years back, when we started this, we knew we needed satellite places to connect with people to go to where they are, because transportation is a huge issue. But we always knew at some point we needed that hub to strengthen the satellite locations. So in Chesterfield, a group called Christian Development Fund has offered us the building. It's a 40,000 square foot building, 15 acres on the bluffs in Chesterfield. It's a beautiful, I can't say enough about this building. It's just amazing. And it's going to be the hub of our operation, not just for our ministry and what we're doing, but there's going to be others that are going to come on board and kind of use that as a centralized location for solving these problems. So if you want to get involved right now, the best place to go to get involved is epicmo.org. And you can go directly to the website there, or go to epicmo.org/partner, because we need partners right now. Everything isn't about finances, but we were offered an amazing opportunity here. We need to raise about $300,000 in capital. It can be over the next several years, but so you can get in at any point. It can be $50 a month. Don't think that is at $25 a month. That makes a huge difference. We did do we did a campaign to raise money a couple of weeks ago, and we were able to get promises of pledges up to $100,000. So now all those come in, so we need to backfill whatever we can. So great place to get started, and then start thinking about mentorship. If you've got something to offer, if you get, and don't be scared by young people. I was always scared by teenagers. Teenagers can kind of scare you to death. They're just a unique group of people. They're super sweet. They're not at all because I think sometimes our young people get some kind of encouragement from their circumstances, right? And these kids don't have that much, so they're really humble,
very thankful,
super thankful. And the kind of people, again, you see them, you're just like, wow, this is not what I expected. And I would love to help that person. So if that's inside of you somewhere, whether you had some experience with youth groups or whatever, it's not necessary, because we've got the plan and the program for the Epic School of Excellence. But that's the first step in getting involved right now, is financial and helping out there, and then considering our next steps once we move in and being a support group.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So going back to your website, epicmo.org, it says that you provide the essential four. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what its purpose is?
Yeah. So with everything, you need that foundation to build from. And what happens is that through experiencing generational poverty, those things, either those blocks aren't there, or they're eroding at different times underneath your feet. So you think you take 2 steps forward, but then when the building block at the foundation drops out, you go right back down to the bottom. So we're going to provide housing, food, education, and employment through our 2-year program. And then they get paid through what's called WIOA funding, and they can get paid to come to work for our organization. So we have multiple jobs that they can actually work at while they're learning, and then they can actually get paid to go to school as well through the Epic Empowerment program we get from Connections to Success. So what we found is they'll one will be operating it, and then the other won't be operating, and then they're missing the other 2. Well, it doesn't work. They have to have those essential 4. Eventually, they have to have transportation, but creating the school that they can hopefully live at or live in a host family and work nearby and live nearby will help with that as well. So we're really excited about it because we've seen the success of what we're offering, and it's just, it's life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Epic Empowerment, the school just really provides those essential building blocks that these teens and young adults need to further their future success. So that's amazing. And I've heard you talk about soft skills. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. So, I mean, in growing up, we learned a lot of things, either just being in our family or being around people or being directly taught. And it's simple things like opening a bank account. Where do I go to buy a car? It's those skills that when they're lacking, it's like Dori said, that's where the low self-esteem comes from. Everybody else is talking about doing these things. And I don't want them to know I have no clue about either what they're talking about or how I get started. We took 4 of our young people because through working through the food program, we got them paid through the WIOA funding. And so now they had money. We had over $26,000 that went from WIOA funding into these kids' pockets, right? So that's no small thing. And so it's time to open a bank account. And I'm sitting in the lobby and I'm not thinking anything of it. And there's 4 kids there, they're super nervous. And I'm like, hey, we're not robbing the place. We're just opening an account here. Well, Mark, I don't know what we're going to do. How's this card work? All of a sudden this flood of, anxiety and stuff. And I'm like, this is a fun time. You're putting, maybe not for young people to put money in the bank, but it's a major achievement. Let's put it that way. And then they have a card that they can go and use, and, that it's their own money. It's a big deal, but they just couldn't process all that. They need to be prepared for it. Just the simplest task, because what they do is they shy away, and then they slowly fade into the darkness. And again, these are invisible people. They become invisible to our community because they're not causing any trouble. They're pretty good kids. The bad ones, unfortunately, get the spotlight shown on them. They're just kind of there, and then they disappear, and you don't think anything of it. You don't think, boy, that kid needs help. And that's where we're finding those soft skills have to be. So through the 2-year program and the personal productivity program, that's where we're teaching, that we're building that up at the same time we're applying the essential 4.
And so what happens if the issues that Epic Empowerment addresses continues to exist?
Well, I think COVID has made our situation in terms of a community, a society, a million times worse. And this is a difficult subject for me because I like to talk success. I believe that, you just have to change whatever you discipline yourself into, you can make yourself successful. You just have to apply the rules to your life and continue them on a regular basis. But with this, all of a sudden, these young people are now disconnected. We ran into a really difficult time through our Safe Kids Rescue program because they weren't going to school and libraries were shut down. Those were our 2 major sources of connecting with young people. I literally had to go to Facebook and start reaching out and say, hey, how you doing? Is everything okay? And that's sporadic at best, because some of them don't have internet connections. A lot of them utilized our youth center down in St. Clair for a long time because they needed the internet access. The library, same thing, and now they're closed. So that made it worse. And then just societally, social media is not our friend. As much as we utilize it and it's a tool, it's like dynamite. And right now it's exploding in places that it's doing huge amounts of devastation, mentally, physically. We're seeing suicide rates go through the roof. We're seeing anxiety and the socialization issues are dramatically changing. A lot of these young people, you'll see them wearing masks, and it's not about COVID. It's about hiding behind a mask. And it's a comfort thing for them, versus getting out there in the world and learning how to shake a hand and look somebody in the eye and have confidence about who you are. You don't have to know everything in the world, and then you have to convince yourself on some level that this person I'm getting introduced to is on my side, So it's just those little things, that seem to be missing that are causing a huge problem. And if this doesn't occur, which, I know we're going to continue to do it. I know Connections is continuing to do it. But we've already got a bad problem on our hands. These will be the most affected people. So what's waiting for them on the other side of not doing this? It's drugs, unemployment, getting pregnant, and having families, that are all kind of askew relationships, even if it's not pregnancy, it's just bad relationships because they're in a bad situation already. Financially, they'll never crawl out of the financial hole. And our government throwing money at them and then buying a flat screen TV is not going to change their life. It hasn't for anybody. It hasn't done it for 50 years. It's not going to do it tomorrow. And then on top of it, you add the social pressure of social media where everybody's life looks so grand. It's so perfect. It's so filtered. It's a huge problem for children. And I say children, but I mean, young people who just don't have their feet firmly planted on the ground. And we need, as a community, as a society, and as the church, the Big C church, this needs to be our mission. It's not every church's mission. That's fine. But some of them need to pick up the mantle and run with us and get this thing done, because we don't just have a plan. We've got a process and a system for success that's totally different. That's different than wishing we had something, right? We're putting these things into play. And once we get the hub in Chesterfield, we're rolling from day one.
Yeah. So tell me again, Mark, how someone watching this that really wants to engage and get involved with what we are doing, how do they do that? What's just an easy way to reach out?
Yeah, best way is I would go send an email to info@epicmo.org. info@epicmo.org. Whatever you hear, whatever you see on the website, you've got questions, always available to answer them. We are having a kickoff meeting on April 5th at Mimi's Cafe at 9 a.m. So if you'd like to come join us there, definitely would love to have anybody who wants to find out more about what we're doing and find out where they can plug in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so just to kind of reiterate, partnership and community are really at the core of our work at Epic Empowerment. And as we journey alongside people going through the ups and downs of life, we see time and time again the transformative power of just collaboration, teamwork, and authentic connection. So anyone watching this, you can explore ways to engage at our new school and to find an opportunity that aligns with your unique skills. We all have our own unique skills and abilities. And so if you're interested in being a part of what we have, what we're doing, what we have going on, we would love to talk with you. You can just email us, like Mark said, at info@epicmo.org. That's info@epicmo.org. So Mark and Dori, thank you so much for sharing your vision and just your passion for breaking that cycle of generational poverty. It's just so inspirational, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Same here. And although you see us on the video, I mean, there's hundreds of people behind us that actually make it happen.
That's right.
And so I want to make sure everybody understands it may look like, we're on the tip of the spear. Yes. But at the same time, we're seeing amazing things through other people and their skill sets and their abilities to bring things to the table. This has to be a community effort. I mean, this can't be just us having a passion for something and making it happen. We can get it started that way. But now we're in a position of, like I said, that 40,000 square foot building in Chesterfield, and being able to fill it with good things and produce a result on the other side. And I want as many people connected to that as possible. And the same with your giving. We're a not-for-profit Christian organization, so we're a 501c3, which means all donations are tax deductible. And I just pray that people have a financial blessing on their life by joining in with us and partnering with us, and knowing that money goes to something that has a very specific plan to transform people's lives.
Amen. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it so much. Well, thank you guys so much again. And everyone watching, we look forward to hearing from you.